you've been following this stuff for a while, you sort of look at it a little differently, and then when something happens like what happened to Toby and the rest of us, it really sort of changes your point of view on the whole phenomenon, and so we're trying to sort all that out. There's no reason, in my view, why this thing went out onto the lake bed the way that it did. It seems that it did it almost as if to once again give us what we were looking for. But in order for it to do that, it has to be smart, and it has to sort of know what we're up to. And I think when people think of the Sasquatch thing as an animal who's just ambling around trying to get by, trying to make a living, you know, then why would it do any of these things? So that's what that's where it forces us to take on other possibilities.
Okay, sure, like, really, it sounds too good to be true. When I went there, and I saw the tracks myself, my knees got weak.
I do hospice and at-home care most of the time, and so I got word while I was taking care of a guy that was dying of cancer, you know, that, hey, look at your iPhone, Bigfoot news, you gotta go. Well, I couldn't just go. What I could do is get a hold of a guy that I had met through a friend of a friend, which is all this work. And the neat thing about hanging out together in a little room like this instead of a big venue is that there's connections that are going to start happening here, be it that serendipity that will take place, but there will be a friendship and a camaraderie if we continue to hang out here. And there's really cool people here that are interested in a mystery of a mystery of a mystery of a mystery. And so that's the way it worked with me. So I met this guy who I'll call Tracker. That's what he wants to be known as. And he's a witness to a female like Patty, which is the big M.K. Davis footage. Anyway, so Tracker and I are on the phone. I'm like, you got to see this. You know, I know you found prints. So he got me into the area real quick with some cheap plaster from Home Depot. And before we knew it, it's 8:30 at night, and we were looking at the photo of what the guy sent me. Only we're looking at the real thing. And I'd never seen a footprint before, you know, not one that I couldn't sit there and draw a line around and say, well, you know, that's, I put my Bigfoot glasses on and this is hopefully what I'm seeing. This was very definitive, and that's what we saw, and it was all pretty as a picture. And so I got on the phone with Tom, I got on the phone with everybody I could get a hold of to say, this is what's going on. And so one of the main reasons I did that, and I'll just divulge this right now, is that there is a TV gig in the works, and it still is. And I did not want anything coming back my way, or anybody else's way, to say, I'm the big hoaxer. So I wanted many eyes on this area. So I called up, and before we know it, we had, probably at one time, we had about 11 or 12 people on the lake bed, up on the ridge, casting these amazing footprints. And you know, when we saw the footprints on the ridge, they're different than the lake bed. That's what I saw in my head. And so, hence, you get Bigfoot-itis, just like a fishing story, especially at night, and a small 14 and 15 inch and a half print, 14 or 15 and a half inch print grows into 17. So, the lesson that I learned about that, of course, is just take your time, and especially if you have all night. So we casted 4 prints. Actually, we were in the process of casting 3 prints, and I'm on the phone with Cliff, you know, and I'm talking to Cliff, and he's walking me through this because he's the track nerd, and I'm standing there with my legs, you know, kind of arched down, looking at the trackway, and there's Tracker, right? He's the big redneck that should know more than me about how these things move around. And he says, Toby, don't move. And I'm on the phone with Cliff, and I'm like, what? And he's like, well, look between your legs. I'm like, oh gosh, okay. So, and there was a 4th print that the guy never told us about, right? So Max's credibility took a big leap in my brain about what was probably happening here. And just to describe real briefly, on the ridge, it was coming out of a game trail, the prints were, and there was a very definitive 4th track that we just now found, right? And as it took this corner, it took about a 42.5 inch step, heel to heel. But the print, this print in particular here, which is what we call print number 4, was 72.5 inches from heel to heel, which is, like a parking lot, right? A parking spot. Very big. I mean, like these benches, except a little bit bigger here. And so we cast until 7 in the morning, and by the next day there were 12 of us on the lake bed, and then that's just when it all went kind of, totally bonkers. And so we all got a real hard nut, and feel free to join in. You were there too. The elements were coming in because of the sensitive nature of supposedly these prints being something that maybe we shouldn't take. We got the heck out of there, but for 4 days, nearly 3.5 days, through the rain, through the night, we casted 122 prints. Originally that number was really elevated to 165, and I don't know where that number came from, but you get a text from somebody and boom, you just go with the number, right? Clipped it down here, we got 165 prints. Bring 250 pounds of hydrocal, and let's go. So he walked away with, I think, 70 prints,
Almost
right?
70.
Yeah, fact check me here. So he took them home, and they're still at his house, I believe, and they're going to get MRI'd at Idaho State University or through some kind of digital imagery to look at animation of the toes and whatnot. Yeah, so Dr. Meldrum's involved with that. But when I was on the phone with Meldrum, when I was talking to them about this incredible event, in fact, Meldrum called me up, and it was on a Monday morning. So this started on Wednesday, and Monday morning, I was tired because something happened on Sunday. So when Tom comes back in here, he can pick up where I'm leaving off and maybe explain a little bit more here. But Wednesday through Friday, we worked our butt off with putting our hands in the dirt and getting the evidence out of there, right? Everybody left. But we knew the story wasn't done because the guy Tracker and all these other people that were down here helping said, we're from here, we know what's going on better than you, let's just go on up into the woods. Okay, so this is the way this is going to work. I've only spoken about this will be the second time, and when you go into this area of, it's already a weird enough phenomenon, Tom's able to talk about it poetically. It's a little more tough for me because I'm grounded in my core belief, right? I'm a Christian single dad, and these kind of things might have a whole different meaning to me. But I will look at this, with a new set of eyes. I don't know what happened that night, but on Sunday, it actually started bright early. We were in an area where there had been 5 people that had witnessed at least 3 Bigfoot squatches over 10 feet tall. And there was 2 skeptics. One was a board certified, still is a board certified child therapist. What's that?
Board certified skeptic.
Skeptic. Well, he wasn't. He was a witness, but there was 2 skeptics up there. Anyway, long story short, they saw squatches. And then I had some crazy stuff happen. But before that Sunday, and I have to bring this up, in September, I was in an area up in Vida, okay? And I was dealing with a family separated by 4 houses and a mountain behind them, okay? So unrelated families with Bigfoot activity, both describing very similar things, including footprints that started in the snow and disappeared in the snow, which Tom probably already spoke about, which you'll hear time and time again about single tracks, right? In the snow, really amazing, right? So they were really curious. And then at the other house, the squatches were playing with kids and watching the kids and running through the forest unbelievably fast. And so we went into the mountains there, and I saw a light with a gal named Beth Heikkinen, who will be speaking next month. Anyway, this light was so amazing that it happened in 4 different spots, about 30 feet up in the air. And the only reason I tell you this story here is because it was in a Bigfoot area. You'll hear about the orbs and the lights and the UFO as you get closer to all this phenomena. But what we saw was really amazing and totally beautiful and very close. So that really shook up my worldview. Like, how do I deal with the Bigfoot phenomena? So I stepped away for 3 months. And now here I am back at it again, up on a mountain, right? And so the story goes that me and my son are in this area where these 4 tall individual squatches are seen. And I've got my great little son, Jude, is with me, and he's really active. For some reason, that day, more so than usual, about calling these things in. In fact, he's like stomping his feet around. Some of these things I didn't mention on the radio show, but he was kind of like a cartoon character trying to call in these squatches, like beating on stuff and really yelling. Usually he's a little hesitant about doing that. So I'm thinking that's pretty interesting. And meanwhile, Tracker and Beth have taken a walk, and so we go back to the truck, and I see, you know, this is after we've been out in the rain and muck and mire, and it's a beautiful sunny day, and I'm just like, you know, maybe I should just start talking about Loch Ness. I'm kind of squatched down here right now. This is like getting too much, but really cool. And all of a sudden, I see Tracker come up this dirt road. Hey, this is like a really, you know, Tracker is like the everyday guy. He's been hunting his whole life, just a really solid, good dude. Anyway, he comes up and lays a big hug on me, and he goes prone position, which is flat on his face, and takes this huge sigh. And he looks kind of more than shaken up. And I've got these other things going on. I've already got this invitation that's 2 weeks in the making for these two EMTs from the area where I saw this light. So they've been really dedicated to want to see a Bigfoot, and I'm not a witness. All they know is that for some reason I'm propelled to go behind their fire station where these, you know, these two houses are to see this light with them, which we never have again. So they're like, well, we want to see a squatch, let's go out on Sunday. So I was like, okay, well, we cast all these prints, now let's go up in the woods. And let's go into an area where there's this giant rock that had been thrown in this 22-inch, I don't know, how big is that?
18.
Yeah, so there's that 22-inch print, right? And a giant rock that had been hurled at my buddy John Bolt. So John brings the dog, and we go to a bar, and I was like, okay, you know, incredible week. I haven't done this in a while in a group setting, you know, because I'm a Christian, I wanted to go pray, and I was like, if you guys want to pray, that's fine, you don't have to do that, but we're going out in the woods, and I don't know what the end game is here. So they all come down, they're like, yeah, let's do it. So we get up into the woods after we do our little prayer session in Cottage Grove, and immediately, when we get up into the woods, my buddy John disappeared. He had his dog and he had his gun. And so we're waiting, and we have great cell phone service, and it's raining, and we're up in the dark. And feel free to join in, Tom, if you hear something that's like, well, you know, if you have a segue to...
I wouldn't agree with you, just keep going.
Okay. So we get into the woods there, and I'm waiting for John. It's a half hour, he hasn't come. Like, you know, I'm going to call John now. So I get on the phone, and he's like, I'm home. And I said, this is your spot, man. This is, what do you mean you're home? You brought your dog, and you're all gung-ho, and yeah, it's raining, but you're a hunter, so you're not a wuss. And he's like, no, I'm home. I don't know why I'm home, but I'm really, you know, I'm pissed off that I'm home. And I'm not easily offended, but I'm home, and that's the way it's going to be. Click. So I thought I did something. I was like, well, I must have done something. Or maybe he got offended when I told him to turn out his light or something like that. So we put that behind us of just being, you know, something ordinary, and we get up the trail even farther. And we're trying to get into an area where the rock has been thrown. And so it really starts to rain. And I have my camcorder, and so they're up there with all their gear. I'm like, here's the camera of what happened. I'm going to go up in the woods, because I'm thinking to myself, like, I just want to interact with these things. No one's ever going to believe me about the lights. I don't really care. It changed me. So maybe if I see a Bigfoot, I'll be even, you know, cooler things will happen.
And I stayed there into the wee hours, whacking on trees, just like all my BFRO buddies told me was going to work. And so I'm sitting there, whack, 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 and then I'd wait, whack, 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 and then I'd wait, and then this went on until like 4 in the morning. I finally decided, okay, I gotta get home, I got stuff to do this weekend, so I took a long drive home. I made it home, and right at dawn, and as I pulled up into my own yard and my own driveway, I get out of the car, and as soon as I close the door, from the forest in the back of my own property comes whack, whack, whack. And I traveled 100 miles between Alan and April's property and mine, and as soon as I got out of the car, something's out there waiting for me, and almost as if to say, take that, you know. So, you know, I was floored, and all of a sudden my paradigm shifted. It's like, how did they travel 100 miles? There's only two possibilities. Either they were able to travel at freeway speeds, or there's communication to where they're able to say to ones that are more local, he's coming your way, and when he gets there, give him a taste of his own medicine. So this was the kind of stuff that all of a sudden I'm having to sort out. And that brings us to the whole idea of the paranormal, because all of a sudden, you see, I had crossed the line. Now I was paranormal. Weird. Yeah, right.
Individuals who leave tracks in the ground unexplained. Mountain monkey. There's a group of individuals living in the Northwest Forest, the home for centuries. All alone in the mountains, shadowed by the dark forest. They hesitate, nocturnal itching. It's a hairy biped, a mountain monkey. Shadowed by the dark forest.